tonight we are going to get settled in child's pose. So come to your mat, bring your toe tips to touch, your knees out wide about the width of your mat, and sink down into your heels so that your sits bones are evenly distributed towards your heels. And then you'll just start to crawl your fingers towards the top of your mat so that your forehead or your chin and chest can come down to the mat. You might want a prop underneath your forehead if you need to get closer to the floor. So if you're finding that you're kind of hovering here and you're not really getting all the way down to the floor, try to grab something, either a block or a pillow, so that you can fully relax in and rest in this pose. I'll just give you a moment to find a cozy shape. And when you settle in, we'll start to close your eyes if you haven't done so already. And take a deep breath in. Big sigh out, let something go. Whatever happened earlier today, earlier this week, last week, this year, whatever, just let that go. For the next 60 minutes, you're here on your mat with me, and hopefully you use this time to rest, restore, rebalance, get yourself back into a good headspace, body space, all that good stuff. So whatever you came to your mat feeling, just leave that behind and just start to really tune into how your body is feeling right now. So you might have a little bit of tension in your lower back or your hip area, just depending on how tight you are right now, from either tight hamstrings, tight psoas, tight low back, especially if you sit a lot for work or just haven't been moving as much lately because of, being trapped inside and whatnot. You might find that you're a little bit more sore than typical. And then you might also feel some tension in your upper body if you've been hunched over on your computer, or again, your posture hasn't been great. Maybe you've been slumped over on the couch more than typical. So just try to roll your shoulders down your back. And with every exhale, see if you can sink your sit bones more towards your heels. And really press your forehead on, if it's on the mat or on your prop, to really start to ground down. Take a deep breath in. Full sigh out, let it go. This is a good time at the beginning of class to set some kind of intention for your practice tonight. So if it's just to try to be present here, to get the most benefits out of your restorative practice, if it's a word or a phrase that comes to mind of something that maybe you still need for your day or for your week, maybe it's truly just to get a reset and to stretch out your muscles and undo some of the damage that we've been doing from being cooped up inside. So whatever your reason is, just come to that so that when you're holding on in other poses tonight, you can come back to that to bring yourself back to a place of mindfulness on your mat, especially if your mind starts to wander in all different directions. So you may be thinking about things that happened or how busy your schedule might be tomorrow or the rest of this week. But right now you're here on your mat. You've decided to dedicate some time to yourself, which is so awesome. So just breathe into that. On every exhale, just feel like you're melting a little bit more into your mat. You should feel a lot of lengthening happening on your side body. So in your upper back and your lat area, you should feel some lengthening happening there. And then this is also a really great hip opener and low back opener. So if you got really tight hamstrings like I do, and you store tension in your hip area, this is just a really great way to gently open and start to allow your body to create some more space. Take a few more rounds of breath here. On your next inhale, just start to slowly crawl your hands until they're underneath your chest. You can come up to a tabletop position and you can just sway your hips from side to side just to loosen up, undo your child's pose. And when you're ready, ground down into your left palm. Inhale, bring your right palm up to the sky, take your gaze up with it. Exhale, bring your right palm over towards the left side of your body. So we're coming through for thread the needle here. So your right palm will be facing up and you'll come down onto your right shoulder and try to bring your right side of your face down to the mat. And you might notice right away that your left hip is a lot higher than your right. So just see if you can shift your hips a little bit so that they're square to the mat. And then if you want to get into your shoulder just a little bit more, you can reach your left palm towards the top of your mat and use that as almost an anchor to push you in and to get you more onto your right shoulder. So this is a really great shoulder opener, again, to undo you being slumped over at a computer, or if you're texting a lot on your phone, driving, whatever. Most of us don't have the best posture as it is, and then if you've been sitting a lot more than typical lately, you might find that you get a lot more tension in your upper back than normal. So this is just a really great one to help bring some lengthening in that part of your body, but also to release some tension that you might be holding on to there. And just breathe in, close your eyes if you haven't done so already, and just keep a mindful watch on your hip area, because my left hip has already started to creep up a little bit just from being here. So just try to inch that back so that they're square to the mat. Seeing how deep you want to go here. And you can always come down to child's pose legs if being in tabletop is just too much, or you want to have a little bit more passive approach to this posture. You can always come down, sink your glutes down to your heels and just come onto your shoulder that way. So it's just another option, alternative, if being in tabletop is just a little bit too intense, putting too much pressure on your shoulder. And again, you guys know your body's best, so please listen to how you're feeling. If you think that something feels off or too intense, please back off. Or if you need something more, you can take it to a further expression at any point in your practice. So just finding what works for you. Continue to breathe deep here. We're more than halfway through this side. Should feel an intense stretch on your right shoulder. Again, not painful, but just a nice compression of your right shoulder, so that when we come out of it, you will start to bring that blood flow back to that side to reawaken and bring some life back into the new space that you've created on that side of your body. So just think about the expansive space that you're creating by just simply being here in this posture. And coming back to your intention, your reason for joining tonight, as your mind might start to wander, when we hold poses for as long as we do, it's so easy to start thinking about other stuff, especially things that you might need to do or should have done or whatever. That's not what we're, doing right now. And it's just a good practice throughout your practice to keep reminding yourself, like, hey, I'm here on my yoga mat. I'm stretching out tonight to bring some rest and restore back to my body. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm not doing any of those other things that I might be thinking about. Always a great reminder for all of us. Take a couple more rounds of breath here on your own time. Just breathing in really deep, allowing your belly to fully expand out. Let it all go. One more round of breath here. Big sigh out, let something go. If you have extended your left palm towards the top of your mat, just start to slide that in towards your face. And then ground down into your left palm and start to raise your right palm up towards the sky where we started. And then you'll just take some very big arm circles in one direction. And then we'll just switch it to the opposite direction, again, just to bring some blood flow back to that side. And we're just gonna swap that out here. So you'll start to ground down into your right palm, coming back to that tabletop position or child's pose, whatever feels good to you. Inhale, bring your left palm up, and then exhale, bring it through for thread the needle on this side. So you're gonna come down to your left shoulder, bringing the left side of your face down to the mat. Again, be mindful of your hips. Your right hip likely jutted up, so just try to square your hips back down toward the mat and be mindful of that throughout our hold here, just because it will start to creep back up. You will notice that you will be lopsided again. And then when you have settled into a good shape, just close your eyes, come back to your breath. You can extend your right palm up to the top of your mat if you haven't done that yet, just to ground down into that palm, to push a little bit more to get more into that left shoulder. We're about halfway through. If you need to make any kind of adjustment, you certainly can, but try to stay still. When you stay still in your practice, you get the most benefits out of each posture. So in this thread the needle pose, just think about the expansiveness that you're creating in your upper body, seeing where you can soften a little bit if you're holding on to any tension anywhere. So you feel like not only in your shoulder you have some tension going on, but maybe in your upper back, just see if you can really just try to let it roll down your shoulders, releasing that tension, breathing some energy into it, allowing yourself to relax just a little bit. And again, being mindful of that right hip that likely has snuck up a little bit. See if you can nudge that back. Take 2 more rounds of breath here. Big breath in, let your belly fully expand out. Big sigh out, let it go. 1 more round here. Big exhale out. And your next inhale, you've extended your right palm up to the top of your mat. Just start to slowly slide that in towards your chest area. And then ground down into your right palm. Inhale, lift your left palm up to the sky. And then we'll just take some arm circles in one direction. And then when you're ready, we'll just swap that out on the opposite way. And everyone's favorite posture, we're gonna take pigeon pose. So you can always take this on your back if you have a lot of hip issues, low back issues, any knee issues. Feel free to take this on your back, but if you wanna take traditional pigeon, you'll come into tabletop position, start to slide your right knee in towards your right wrist. And then you'll grab onto your right ankle, try to bring that as parallel as you can to the top of your mat, which none of us will ever be truly parallel, so however you can. And then it'll be close to your left wrist. Extend your left leg long behind you. And then before you come down, just take a peek over either shoulder just to help ground your hips towards the mat. And then inhale, take your gaze up. Exhale, start to crawl yourself forward to put your pigeon to sleep. And this is where props come in handy if you are really tight in your hip area, you're holding onto a lot of tension, or you just aren't feeling super flexible tonight for whatever reason. You can grab onto a couple different pillows or blocks, any prop that you have available to you. You can put it underneath your right hip just to help so that you don't dump all your weight into that side, because that right sit bone should not be on the mat. So if it is because you're dumping a lot of weight there, you might need a prop underneath, or you can always put one underneath your chest or your forehead just to help you relax as much as one can relax in pigeon pose. So again, this should not feel painful. It should feel like an intense hip and low back stretch, but you should not be feeling any pain. So if you are in any kind of pain for whatever reason, please come out of this and take something else. But for most of us, pigeon's just uncomfortable because we're not super flexible in our hip area, and we store a lot of tension in our hips. Just in general, not only upper body and shoulder area, but this is another great place for tension and stress to hang out. Especially if you've got tight hamstrings going on and some low back issues, you might just have really tight hips. So pigeon's always a really great posture to try to alleviate low back pain. and your hamstring situation as well. So breathe in here, close your eyes if you haven't done so already. Try to relax as much as you can in this pose. And the great news is we're already about halfway through, just because I've been talking and distracting you as we've been getting into it. So come back to your breathing, come back to your intention. If you tend to hold on to a lot of stuff, if you aren't processing things, dealing with stuff, pigeon can be tough to get into because sometimes you will find that release in pigeon, not only physically, but emotionally as well. Some people experience pigeon pose crying or pigeon pose just emotional release. And it's a really weird phenomenon because sometimes you're like, I felt totally fine and I didn't think I was stressed out. And then I just stopped in the middle of yoga class. So it can happen, especially if, again, you haven't been dealing with certain things going on and whatnot. So if things are surfacing for you, if you're starting to feel a bunch of emotion, or if you're thinking about things that typically you don't because you don't spend enough time to pause to think about certain stuff, just let come up what comes up. And when you're in this pose, you can just think about releasing that, whatever that is, leaving it behind. And when you get off your mat later this evening, you can just leave it here. You don't need to store it in your hip area. You don't need to carry it around with you anymore. Processing these things is healthy, and it's good for all of us to admit that sometimes stuff is hard, and there are hard days and hard weeks, and 2020 in general has just been hard for a lot of us. So just allowing to release that and process is so healthy. So again, pigeon might be your nemesis, or you might love it. There are some crazy people out there that don't mind pigeon. I'm not one of them, but if that's you, just try to relax into this as much as possible. Take 2 more rounds of breath here on your own. And on your exhales, just imagine that you're releasing something, letting something go. So when we change out sides, because unfortunately we have to, be even on both sides, we have to do the other side still. Just imagine that you are letting that go so you don't have to carry it with you to the other side. On your next exhale, slowly start to come out of this. It's going to look different for all of us. You might just want to slowly crawl up and then come into more of a tabletop shape. You can sway your hips from side to side just to release your low back. Might feel good to take some hip circles in one direction, or maybe even extend your right leg behind you, pressing into your toes, getting a full stretch on the backside of your right leg. Again, whatever movement or non-movement feels good to you, take that. And then, as I said, unfortunately, we have to switch this out to the other side. So come back to your tabletop, or if you're on your back, if you took that variation, just swap it out. Start to slide your left knee in towards your left wrist. Grab onto your left ankle, bring it in toward your right wrist. And then extend your right leg behind you. And again, before you come all the way down, take a peek over one of your shoulders, square your hips. Inhale, take your gaze up. Exhale, start to come forward. Put your pigeon to sleep on this side. And we're not symmetrical, and we do tend to hold on to stuff differently on each side. So this side's gonna feel different. Hopefully it's your less intense side out of the two. And you already got through the harder side. But we're all different, and we all hold on to stuff differently. So you might need more props on the side. You might not need props on the side, but needed it on the other side. Just really listen to your body. No one else is watching you, most likely. So you may need props, and typically you're like, I don't need props. Who needs props? Not me, but everyone needs props. I guarantee that you probably would get more benefits out of using props than saying that you don't need them. So if you've been one of those people that are trying to be stubborn and saying like, I'm great without props, grab onto the props, because they do actually help you get a lot deeper into certain things. It lets you relax a little bit more as well, and which is the benefit of restorative class. So if you do need them, they're great. You feel tension in your upper body because you're holding yourself up to be in the pigeon. Roll your shoulders down your back. You don't want to create more tension by trying to release tension in your hip area and then creating more tension in your upper body. So just, again, relax in, use your breath, close your eyes. Really try to breathe in here. We're almost halfway already on this side. So take these next few minutes to just really close your eyes and imagine that you're cleaning out, I know we all have one, the junk drawer, probably in your kitchen, wherever, if maybe it's in your office area. Ours is full of just random stuff that we don't know what to do with, or I just need off of the counter at the moment. I just throw it in this drawer. Our hips tend to be the same thing, where we just throw whatever in there. So just imagine while you're laying here for the next couple minutes that you're cleaning out that whatever junk drawer that you have, but instead of junk that you found on your counter or your scissors and all the other random office supplies that you, again, have nowhere to put, that it's just stuff that you've been storing or holding on to that you can just take out of that drawer, release it, let it go, get rid of it. You don't need it anymore. This is your time to clear that out. Two more rounds of breath here. Finish up releasing anything that's no longer serving you. And your next exhale, start to slowly make your way out. Again, this side might look a lot different to you, so give yourself some grace coming out of this, because hold it for a little bit and it might be a little stiff. Again, coming back to that tabletop position might feel good. Swaying your hips from side to side. We're taking those knee circles. Maybe you extend your left leg long this time, pressing into your toes. allowing the full backside of your left leg to get a nice stretch here. And when you're ready, just make your way down to your seat. We are going to take a seated forward fold. So you might need a couple props here. I probably will use a couple throw pillows. You might, if you've got a couple blocks or books, you can always stack those up too, whatever feels good to you. But before you start piling on your props onto your lap, just shimmy your seat so that any extra fleshy parts of your sit bones are off to the side so that you're really grounding in with your sit bones, and then extend your legs long in front of you. Then you can start to pile up props, and once you get into this, you might need to adjust slightly. So settling in here, inhale, take your arms up, your gaze up. Exhale, start to slowly reach towards the front of your space. So you might feel your back start to round right away. And if that's the case, just start to relax into your props. If you feel like you still have a good straight flat back, just keep reaching towards the front of your space. And then once you get to that threshold of having that curve in your back, then start to release down into your props. You'll want to bring either your forehead or a side of your face down onto your props, just to really like release your upper body so you're not holding yourself up here in this forward fold. And then close your eyes just to, again, settle in here. Forward folds are really great reset for our parasympathetic nervous system. So if you're a super anxious person or just have a lot of stress going on in your life, forward folds are awesome for counteracting some of that. It's like that instant calming effect that happens when you're in a forward fold. So settle in here, just really start to ground in, and on every exhale, just imagine that you can bring your chest just a little bit closer to your thighs. And I don't think any of us are super flexible enough for that to actually happen. But just imagine that if on every exhale, if you were to just inch yourself a little bit lower, that you could make that happen. And again, that's probably not ever going to happen in my lifetime. I mean, maybe now that my belly is growing bigger, I can probably reach my belly to my thighs at some point. Maybe not yet, but it's getting there. So just imagine that you're just getting closer. You're releasing and opening up your low back and really allowing yourself to rest here in this forward fold, taking the next several minutes to recharge, getting the calming effects of this forward fold. And I know it's weird. You're probably not going to bust out a random forward fold in the middle of your work day, but now that most of us are home most of the time, you might be able to get away with it, and it wouldn't be as weird as being in the office. So if you're ever feeling particularly stressed and like yoga breathing or just mindfulness is not doing it for you, forward fold. Standing forward folds are great as well. So if you don't want to do a seated one, you can standing forward fold. But great tool in your toolkit to bust out when you're feeling extra, just hyped up or need some instant calming. And if you're sitting here in forward fold and you're like, I hate forward folds, I don't get forward folds, I don't feel relaxed in a forward fold, you might be resisting forward fold, which is totally normal and something that a lot of us do when we don't think we need something. So instead of trying to fight against it, just lean into it more. Just see if you can just sigh out and bring your chest a little bit closer to your thighs and see if you can relax a little bit. I promise it's worth trying. And as you guys probably guessed, we're more than halfway through. So if you did put one side of your face down on the pillow or your blocks, then you want to swap it out to the other side so you're symmetrical. You can do that. If you're feeling good where you're at, just stay there. Using your breath here. Take a deep breath in. Big sigh out, let it go. Slowly on your next inhale, start to come out of this one vertebrae at a time. So very slowly start to make your way up to a seated position. And then you'll just move your props out of the way. Bend your knees, bring your knees in towards your chest, and then bring your hands behind your low back with your fingertips facing your glutes. And lean back into your palms, and then just windshield wiper your knees from side to side just to loosen up low back. Undo what we just did there. And then we're gonna make our way down to our spine. So just very slowly, one vertebrae at a time, start to come down onto your back. And when you're ready, on your next inhale, you're gonna grab onto your prop. So if you have a block, grab onto that. If you've just got throw pillows, those will work too. Whatever you have, we are gonna take a supported bridge. So you'll shimmy your heels in towards your glutes. To see if you're set up in the right spot, just take your fingertips and try to touch your heels. You might need to change your position if you can't touch them or they're way too close. And then once you got your prop, lift your hips up to the sky. Place the prop underneath your low back and your sacrum area. Come down onto your prop. And you can always do the test if you don't know if you've got it in the right spot. You can try to lift your legs up to the sky. And if you can lift your hands up and you don't fall over, you're in the right spot. So you can give that a try. But when you're ready, you'll just come back onto your prop. And if this doesn't feel right to you or you just don't like this variation, you can take just a normal round of bridge. You can just lay here. You don't have to do anything that you don't feel like doing. So find what feels good to you. Child's pose is another good option if you just are looking for an alternate and don't want to be on your back like this. Totally get it. But in this bridge pose, just close your eyes. Use this time to get the benefits of having your brain below your heart. Typically, your heart is working hard to pump blood flow to your brain area, and this just allows your heart a little bit of a break being in that position. So seeing if you can use this as a calming pose to slow down your breathing. You might want to put your hands on your belly with your eyes closed just to feel the inhales and your exhales. If you have not been paying attention to your breath throughout class tonight, this is a great opportunity to really start to slow down your breathing as we near the end of class. So on your inhales, just counting to the beat of 4 and allowing your belly to really fully expand out as far as you can get it. And then when you're at the top, just see if you can sip in one more sip of air when you think you're all the way full, and then holding. And then just slowly start to exhale all of that air out, imagining that you're bringing your belly button in towards your spine. And when you feel completely empty, just see if you can hold at the empty for a beat, and then start that process over. So Typically, we don't breathe that slow. We don't even pay attention to our breath throughout the day. You don't think about it. Your body just does it for you, thankfully. But when you really start to pay attention and intentionally slow your breath down like that, you can really reset your body, and it can really help calm you down, get you ready for bed. So using that technique throughout your day if you're feeling a lot of stress and tension, but especially at night, it's just really great technique to help you get ready for bed. So try a couple rounds of that on your own. Just seeing if you can really just pay attention and spend time paying attention to your breath. Doing what feels good to you. Two slow rounds of breath here. Just really allowing your belly to fill up. Holding at the top. Slowly exhaling all of your air out. Pausing at the empty. Taking that one more time. Inhale. Fill up your belly. Pausing at the top. Now exhale all that air out. When you're ready, ground down into your feet. Lift your hips up enough to just remove the prop from your low back. Bring your hips back down, and then you might want to bring your knees in towards your chest just to sway from side to side. Release your low back. And when you're ready, tee out your arms. Bringing your knees in more towards your chest. Then exhale, bring your knees over towards the left side for a supine twist. And you might notice that your right shoulder blade instantly came off the mat, at least mine did, to get my legs over towards the left-hand side. So lift up your upper body so that you can shimmy both of your shoulders down to the mat so that they're both grounded on your mat. And that might mean you need to come off of this twist a little bit. So you might need to put a block or a blanket underneath your knees in between, where you can just come more onto your back and have your knees up, not all the way down on the ground. That's totally fine too. And then start to take your gaze over towards your right fingertips, and you might want to close your eyes once you get to a comfortable shape. And if this is too intense for you, you can always lay on either side. So you can lay on your left side, bring your knees in, and then just slightly rotating your upper body so that you get that upper body twist, but you're not twisting in the belly area. So if you're like me and you can't really do deep twist right now, that's a good alternative. Breathing in. Closing your eyes if you haven't done so already. Feeling the effects of this twist. We're more than halfway through the side. If you have found yourself fidgeting in this pose, just try to stay still, creating a sense of stillness and calm for yourself. So we tend to fidget when we're uncomfortable or when we are so used to being on the go all the time that it's weird to lay still for a little bit. It's uncomfortable because we're not used to it. So if you find yourself fidgeting, that's usually what the issue is. So just try to acknowledge that, accept that, and just tell yourself it's okay that you're resting and that you need to rest so that you can really help your body undo a lot of the stuff that we do all day to it. Take one more deep breath in here. Big sigh out. Slowly on your next inhale, start to bring your knees back to center. And just rock side to side, just again, to loosen up low back. And then we're just gonna swap that out. So you'll tee out your arms, start to bring your knees over towards the right hand side. And again, finding a shape that feels comfortable to you. So you might need to come more onto your right side and not taking such a deep twist. That's a great option. You can always just lay on your right side and just slowly open the front side of your body. But if you have teed out your arms for that full twist expression, start to bring your gaze over towards your left fingertips and then slowly closing your eyes once you're there. So again, you know your body best. Find a shape that feels good to you. And once you have made your way there, just try to stay still. Twists are really good for, again, for resetting things. And it's almost like you're wringing out something that you no longer need because you're making space in your body when you twist, and you're also giving yourself an internal massage of sorts that you typically wouldn't, because most of us don't hang out in a twist position for very long throughout the day. So it's just an opportunity to create some more new space in the body and undo some of your day. A new way to relax and to let go. Twists are also good for loosening up low back. So if you've got low back issues, again, this is a nice gentle opener for your low back. And even in your hip area, depending on how deep in your twist you are, you might feel it there too. So just allowing this twist to be what you need it to be to get the most benefits out of it. We're about halfway through. So if you do need to make an adjustment of some kind, you certainly can, but just try to stay still. Allow yourself to rest here. Take one more deep breath in. One, open mouth, sigh out, let it go. And your next inhale, bring your knees back towards the center. Then you might want to come to a happy baby pose by grabbing onto the outer edges of your feet, bringing your knees in towards your armpits, and you can sway from side to side here if that feels good on your low back. And on your time, when you're ready, start to make your way to your final resting shape, your Shavasana. So you might want to do legs up the wall. You might want to find some props. You can always prop up your upper back with some pillows if you don't want to lay flat on your back for whatever reason. Can come to that pentacle-like shape if you're coming to traditional Shavasana. Right, bringing your legs out to the sides of your mat, extending your arms out wide. And you can bring your palms down to the ground, facing down to get some extra grounding, or perhaps you want to bring them to your belly just to feel your breath here. Whatever feels good to you, find that shape. And once you're there, close your eyes, start to settle in. Notice the muscles in your face, and if you're holding on to any areas of tension there, so you might be, furrowing your eyebrows, or you might have some tension in your jaw area, just seeing if you can release that just a little bit. Bringing your tongue from the roof of your mouth, relaxing your jaw, rolling your shoulders on your back. Even releasing any tension that you might have in your fingertips or your palms. And then allowing your feet to really fall to either side so that your toes are facing outward. And on your next exhale, just fully relax here and enjoy your rest. Shavasana is here for you as long as you need tonight. You're in your own space. If you are finding that you're really relaxing here, just tune out my voice and I will close out Zoom once class is done and you can continue to rest. But if you want to move on with your evening and just reawaken enough to get to bed, just start to bring a little bit of awareness back to your body. You might want to wiggle your fingertips or your toes. And then make your way to either side for a brief step in fetal pose, just closing your eyes. And then slowly on your next inhale, just start to make your way up to a seated position that's comfortable for you. And bring your hands to heart center and softly close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. Big open mouth, sigh out, let something go. Another deep breath in, something that you still need for your day, your week, your month, the rest of 2020. Big sigh out, let something go. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. Hope you feel just a little bit more calm and relaxed going into the rest of your evening. Namaste.